My goal is to become a principal either at the elementary level or high school level. Good afternoon, guys. Today our objective is to learn more about special education in Section 504. It is important to understand these two programs because in order to best serve our students, we need to be informed and educated. Let's look at the history of special education. Early 1970s, not much was done for children with disabilities. Many times, the children were just left at home or put into institutions. When the Education of All Handicapped Children Act came to be, children with disabilities began to receive the free, appropriate education that they deserved. In 1997, they revised EHA and it became known as the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA for short. This act brought on IEPs and various ways to ensure children with disabilities were receiving quality education. For Section 504, prior to 1973, there were little to no protection for people with disabilities. Section 504 helped to eliminate discrimination against people with disabilities and ensured that they had equal rights as well. Both acts are meant to help children that may need accommodations, but there are differences between special education and Section 504. For example, the purpose of special education is to ensure all children with a disability have access to free, appropriate public education, while the purpose of Section 504 is to ensure that discrimination does not occur because of a disability. Who is served by the program and how do students qualify for the program? For special education, students need to be between the ages of 3 to 21 and meet certain criteria. That could mean that they have a documented disability or that they need special education in order to access the general education curriculum. For Section 504, the determination of whether a student has a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits a major life activity must be made on the basis of an individual inquiry. For example, they could have a physical or mental impairment, psychological disorder or condition, or even a cosmetic disfigurement. This picture shows the referral and placement for special education. There are many steps needed to be taken in order for a student to qualify for special education. One of the important steps needed is the parent consent for assessment. Without that, the process is stalled. Another important step is the actual IEP meeting. This is where the accommodations are discussed and the goals are set up. What does the program provide to students? Both special education and Section 504 provide accommodations and modifications. Accommodations refer to how a student learns, while modifications refer to how much a student is expected to do or learn. An accommodation would be if a child is dyslexic, they could receive text-to-speech support. An example of a modification could be that they receive less math problems or shortened text. Special education provides related services. That means that there are services that aren't strictly educational but are needed so that the student can benefit from special education. For example, speech language therapy. That can be used to improve communication skills that affect learning. Section 504 provides discrimination protection to ensure that children are not being discriminated against because of their disability. Which teachers or staff members help to coordinate or support the program? Well, in special education teachers, of course, administration, special education coordinator, parents, and other specialists could be a part of that team. For Section 504, it's the Section 504 committee. That may include teachers, principals, counselors, and the Section 504 coordinator. Mistakes that people may make and how to fix them. For special education, a problem might be that the IEP isn't specific enough that anyone could follow. The solution would be to create the IEP to be as specific as possible. It's important to make the student's IEP super specific because that way you can ensure it is being followed. For example, include measurable, observable objectives and try to avoid checklists. For Section 504, a problem that I've seen is the lowered standards for students on a 504 plan. The solution makes sure standards and goals are adequate for students while keeping standards high. It is important that we don't limit our students just because they are a part of a 504 plan. Standards should not be lowered. As a leader, how will I monitor the programs? Well, both special education and Section 504, I need to ensure that my staff understands the requirements under both. I plan to facilitate meetings that educate my staff, such as this one, and I make sure that I am constantly reevaluating students and making sure that their IEP plans are up to date, or that their their Section 504 plans are up to date as well. Those are just some of the ways I will be monitoring the programs to ensure that they are being implemented successfully on our campus. It is our responsibility to ensure that our students are receiving the accommodations and modifications that they need in order to succeed at our school. I welcome you as teachers to monitor the students you have in your classroom who are part of these programs in order to ensure that if changes need to be made to their plans, we are aware of it and get that plan updated as soon as possible. Thank you guys for spending this time with me, and I hope you are now informed about Section 504 and special education.